The whole reason why we do the work we do is to build relationships and to deepen relationships and help people live healthier lives, not only physically but mentally and spiritually as well. We know that that's important, and the cafe is at the heart of that community and that restoration model that we practice here a lot. So, having said that, I want to segue into our second speaker today. Her name's Ronnie. And she has, Ronnie, over 30 years in the restaurant industry? 35 years in the restaurant industry, folks. That's a lot of experience working with and around food and customers. And she brings a special gift to us today. And that gift is that she understands how to handle food safely. And there's a certification that she has called ServSafe that's handled by the National Restaurant Association. And she's going to share with us some of the best processes and procedures today about that. So welcome, Ronnie. I'm going to stop right there and just let you have the stage so you can share all of your wisdom with us. And we'll be doing a follow-up class for Ronnie as well.
Good morning. I'd like to ask you two questions. First question, if somebody said to you, I can guarantee that you have a 1 in 6 odds of winning the lottery, would you run out to buy a ticket? I would. I think I'd buy 6.
Yeah.
I do too.
Absolutely. But there's some other odds that maybe you're not aware of. I don't know if I put this here. Can you see it? Or do you need it on a chair?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
You want me to hold it?
I think it would be all right. Just put some of those little boards in front, please.
Okay.
Okay. 1 in 6 people get a foodborne illness every year in America. That translates into over 48 million people last year alone. Of that number, 128,000 were hospitalized. 3,000 died. This is not just you get it once and you're finished. You have this chance every single year. Foodborne illness, or food poisoning, as we know it better, is an epidemic, and it's getting worse. My second question is really a quiz for you. Which item do you think has the most germs? A cell phone, the kitchen sink, your TV remote, your refrigerator handle, the toilet seat, or your car steering wheel? Who's got a guess?
Toilet seat.
I'm sorry?
Toilet seat.
Toilet seat? Nope.
I would say your TV remote
Nope.
or your cell phone. Sink.
No, no cell phone.
No control.
You're going to be surprised to learn it's your car steering wheel. And if you think about it, that makes sense. You clean your bathrooms, your kitchens pretty regularly, but your car steering wheel gathers everything from work, from play, from shopping, and it's not something we clean regularly. Once I found out about that, I carry a small package of wipes on my console, and every now and then I give it a wipe. But if you go to the grocery store, it's a good idea after you unload your food, before you unpack it, wash your hands. There are several types of bacteria, and I'm not going to go into it. I'm trying to take a 40-hour course and put it in 20 minutes. But some of them you're familiar with. E. coli, hepatitis A, norovirus, and the newest one that's really an issue is non-typhoidal salmonella, and it's affecting our produce. Now that nobody wants to eat anything, I'm going to tell you what we can do. First, we need to understand how our food becomes contaminated. There are 3 ways. Biological, which is by far the most prevalent and serious, and that includes bacteria, virus, fungus, and parasites. Those are little crawly things. Some have long tails, some have 8 legs. Chemical. Usually that's pesticides or cleaning products. And the last one is physical. Most of that occurs in factories where you may have glass shards, metal shavings, insects, sometimes bandages get dropped into things. They say chocolate, and I'm a chocoholic. has tons of insects in it when it's made. I didn't eat chocolate for a long time after I heard that. So those are the main ways that food becomes contaminated. Those are the only ways. Now, once it's contaminated, how does it become unsafe? First and foremost is poor personal hygiene. Failure to wash your hands correctly. It's so important. The handouts I gave you talk about how to wash your hands correctly. The Center for Disease Control and the Health Department recommend washing your hands for 20 seconds. And they tell you the way to gauge it is to sing happy birthday. Now you have to realize this is for the whole procedure. Washing, rinsing, and drying. And rinsing is very important. All soap is antibiological. But the purpose of the soap is to loosen the germs so that when you rinse your hands, the germs slide off. Does that make sense? A lot of people think because they're using a fancy soap, they're getting rid of the germs, but that's not the case. So you go into the restroom and you're washing your hands. Happy birthday to you. Sing with me. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Marty. Happy birthday to you. Now you're rinsing.
Happy birthday to you.
Keep going, Marty. And then using your elbow, you hit the little button for your towel, and you're drying. Now here's the secret when you're using public restrooms. I didn't turn the water off yet. Why didn't I turn the water off yet?
Germs.
Germs are on that faucet when you turn it on, right? But you have the paper towel in your hand from drying your hands. Use the paper towel to turn the water off. Now you have another barrier. You have that door handle to get out. You don't want to stay there all day. Use that same paper towel, open the door. Sometimes I have to put my foot in the door and then throw the towel in the wastebasket. If there's no wastebasket, just kind of take it and drop it in whatever trash I can find. But the reason you need to be careful, especially as a food handler, is that a lot of people don't wash their hands after using the restrooms, especially young children. They get sent in by themselves, and that's dangerous. Okay, so you have failure to wash hands properly. If you touch or scratch something, that's contamination, you know, and you go about your business, even after you've washed your hands. If you work while you're sick, that's really, really dangerous. Let's talk for a minute about time and temperature abuse. This is the second most important way that food becomes unsafe. Food has a danger zone, and one of your handouts has the thermometer with the danger zone. The danger zone is between 40 degrees and 135 degrees. If you have one bacterial cell, one, in 10 hours, that cell becomes 1 trillion cells. Now, cells don't usually travel by themselves, so you can imagine after a few hours how much bacteria is building up in this food. But if you cook it to the right temperature, you kill most of those pathogens and you're safe. Also, if food is not cooled correctly, this is also temperature abuse. You can't take a big pot of spaghetti and meatballs and put it in the refrigerator because you're not going to use it till tomorrow. I like to make it the day before. It tastes better. It takes so long for that to cool. By the time it gets completely cooled, you've got millions and millions of bacteria. Better to put it in small amounts, shallower pans, put it in once it's all cooled, then you can put it all together. Okay, enough about that. Let's talk about cross-contamination. You're working in the kitchen and you're making a nice salad. You got your lettuce, your tomatoes, and you're putting cucumbers and everything in it. Some people wash their lettuce, some people don't. But if, for instance, you got the pre-washed stuff, so you don't have to wash it, which I never trust, and you have your tomatoes. If you don't wash your tomatoes, you're adding bacteria to your salad. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't cook my tossed green salads. Anybody cook them? I don't think so. So you've got cross-contamination there. If you are working on poultry or fish or beef on the counter, and then your kids come in and they want a sandwich, and you haven't cleaned that counter properly, you've got cross-contamination. You're going to make your kids sick. Usually, most of us have several different ways of cleaning in our counters. The thing to be most careful of is that your cleaning cloths are clean. Sponges are handy, they're wonderful, I use them myself, but you have to be very careful with sponges because they carry a lot of germs and they don't clean easily, all right? The answer to that is I keep in my kitchen a thing of Lysol wipes, and after I'm finished, I can wipe everything off. It takes a minute, it's not expensive, they last forever. So be careful of your cleaning cloths. Also, cross-contamination occurs if you don't wear a hat or hairnet in a commercial kitchen or someplace like our well, because hair basically falls out from the top. People think it comes out at the bottom, but it comes out at the top. So if you have long hair and it's restrained and you have a hat on, you kind of eliminate that chance of cross-contamination. Okay, so now we know how the food becomes contaminated, how that contamination makes it unsafe. What are we going to do? We're going to fight back. We're going to be the food police. We're going to make our food safe. We don't want anybody to be in that 1 in 6 number. So we're going to wash our hands often. If you're in the well and you're working or you're portioning rice or beans and Marty says, hey, help this client out with the TV, you say, sure, you take your gloves off, or if you're not using gloves, you say, sure, and you go right out and you help him. When you come back, you must re-wash your hands. Simple, keep hot foods hot and cold foods cold. Very easy. There are many ways to do that, and when we have our class at the well, we're going to discuss that further. Keep your kitchens and equipment clean. Don't forget about things like your coffee pot, your ice maker, in your freezer. Make sure everything is nice and clean. Don't buy damaged products. There's a lot of fast food products out there, a lot of frozen things. Make sure your frozen food is solidly frozen. A lot of times food is shipped and it's not kept at the right temperature, starts to defrost, then it's refrozen and only partially. That's dangerous, don't buy it. A lot of the meats and cheeses that are in the packages that you see in all stores, check them and make sure that they're not punctured or have holes in them. Don't buy dented cans. They can have little pinholes, and botulism is one of the only bacteria that we have that is 100% fatal. You don't want, and you can't see it and you can't smell it. So be careful of buying damaged products. Then we come into store, rotate, and date. Here at the lot, all our food products have to be 6 inches off the floor. All restaurants like to use what they call FIFO. First in, first out. Rotate your foods so that you're constantly using it and not keeping stuff on hand for a couple of years because you just keep shoving the new stuff in the front. There are some things that are required to be dated when you either open it or receive it. Here again, that's more involved, and we'll be talking to the people directly involved with that. Defrost, prep, and cook your food properly. Please don't defrost that Thanksgiving turkey on the counter. It's overnight and you're going to have billions and billions of bacteria in there. Now, you know, not all bacteria dies when you cook it. Some bacteria form spores, and they can get into your system and they can really wreak havoc. You can have nausea, vomiting, stomach cramps, and you'll say, oh, I've got a little stomach virus or the flu, but really what you have is food poisoning. So,
Happy Thanksgiving.
yeah, be careful, plan, defrost your turkey in the refrigerator. For smaller items, if you need to defrost them in a hurry, you've got to take something out for dinner, put it in the microwave to defrost it. Most people have a microwave. But the trick with that is when you take it out of the microwave, you need to either cook it right away or get it back in the refrigerator. The only other approved method of defrosting is you can put it in a pan in the sink, excuse me, with water running, cool water running. Don't just put it in the pan with the water, because then the little bacteria seeps out in all little crevices and starts to grow. It's got to be running water, and you can do that in an emergency. But I'll tell you, most food, even partially frozen, cooks well, as long as you cook it long enough. So prepping, I think we went over. Make sure when you're prepping, you cook food to the right temperature, you maintain it. Use separate items for meats and separate items for produce and vegetables. Everyone was given a little cutting board like this. I'm hoping you'll use this for your fruits and vegetables. Don't use meats on there. Cross-contamination. Leftovers. Most food, if it's been out in a restaurant, take a buffet for instance, Golden Corral, KFC, a lot of these places have buffets. This food is timed. After a certain number of hours, it has to be discarded. It has to be thrown out, no matter how good it may look, because the number of bacteria and pathogens that grow in that food, even if it's being kept at minimum temperature, is too high for consumption. This is a health department requirement. You'll fail your health inspection if they come in and you see they check your time tickets and you're over the allotted time. If you have food at the well and it's not used that day, I mean, when you consider they start serving at 12, so the food they come in around 11 to people. They start warming things up in the crock pots and stuff because we don't have a basic oven. It takes a while. By 2 o'clock, the well shuts down, you start cleaning up. It's already been like 3 hours. The food that's left over cannot be served the next day. If you cooked it and you decide to take it home, you have my blessing and somebody to look over your shoulder, I hope. Tea and coffee must be discarded at the end of each day, and desserts should be discarded. So we all want to enjoy our meals, whether at home, at the well, or as a recipient of one of Lot 2540's 8 pantries. It's not hard. Mostly it's just common sense. Working together, we can all eat safely and stay healthy. Thank you for listening.
Any questions? Question? I got one quick question. Sorry. I know. So, I tend to handle foods that come in that are cut, like cut celery, cut vegetables. Like, those are the ones that scare me more than anything because they've already been handled once.
You don't want to wash the vegetables here before you send them out, unless you're going to serve them.
Right.
Because washing produces moisture, which will increase bacterial growth. Okay?
So you should be more aware of that.
You should be aware of that. What you should do is make sure you wash your hands before you handle them so you don't add anything additional. And when you're finished handling them, wash your hands.
Okay.
Again, because you've got Lord knows what. The reason that so many of our vegetables are being contaminated is because of water contamination. So much of our produce now, and this is an increase of almost 2-fold over the last 5 years. Water contamination is the biggest reason. A lot of the food comes from other countries. They have the produce fields, and maybe they have fields with some cattle somewhere along the way. The feces from the cattle and in the soil, you know, they have deer even running around in your own gardens, drifts off into the streams that they use for water for irrigation. So here you have contaminated water, watering your vegetables. They harvest the field, they ship the food from wherever, and I don't want to say, and it lands in your kitchen. So be very careful of anything that says pre-washed. I wonder what kind of water they use to wash it. And wash all your vegetables. Cantaloupe also is very high in bacteria. And you wouldn't think so because it's got such a thick rind. But that rind is what encourages bacteria to jump on. So I'm sorry, Marty.
No, thank you. Any other questions for her? Thank you, Ronnie. Appreciate it. You did a great job.
Get it on pause.
You don't need this.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and pause it, Ken.